My name is Casey Reed, and I'm in the Master's Degree Program for Curriculum Instruction at Grand Canyon University. I would like to share with you the educational dispositions I feel that I possess in my classroom, the dispositions that I feel I need to work on, as well as what an effective teacher should look like and the standards that I should set for myself in order to achieve that status. As a special education teacher, the educational disposition of high expectancy is very important to me. I want to have a high expectation for my students, and I want to provide every opportunity for them to succeed. All students can learn with the right methods and tools, and it's my job to come up with individualized instructions for each student. And I also think it's very important to make learning enjoyable. If I can make my students want to learn, that's half the battle. And knowing the learning styles and abilities of my students is critical to being an effective teacher, because I want to have high, realistic expectations that my students can meet, because there is nothing better than seeing my students excited about learning, except maybe seeing their faces when they're successful. It's a very good feeling. And another disposition I feel I possess is that of being reflective, because as much as I love teaching, I love learning even more. And I love learning from other teachers, and a great way to do that is by finding effective teachers and talking with them and observing them in their classrooms. Because as stated in the GCU Professional Disposition of Learning, reflective practice is at the heart of teaching. It is important that as a teacher, I'm continually growing, and what better way to do that than by considering feedback. And I also feel like I need to look at the feedback of my students' assessments. I don't need to be rigid or a box checker, especially as a special education teacher. I need to be flexible and willing to make changes and not be afraid to try new things. It makes it all worth it when you make these adjustments, and it makes a difference for your kids. And honesty and compassion are also very high up on my list, because I always want to be transparent and truthful. I want my students to trust me, and I want my students to want me to trust them. Kids are smart, and they know when you're being genuine, and I want them to know as much as I care about their education, I care even more about them as a person. And I want to get to know them outside the classroom. I want to know their interests and their hobbies and even their struggles in order to build a positive relationship with them. And with that being said, that leads me to the disposition that I need to work on the most, and that would be respecting diversity of others. And I need to work on this not because it's not important to me, but rather because I have not had much of an opportunity in my past teaching experiences to work with diverse cultures and backgrounds. I have worked mostly in private schools and homeschooling my own children, but my current job has opened the opportunity for me to realize the necessity of knowing and understanding the cultural diversities and backgrounds of my students. And it's important for me to get to know where my students came from, to know where they live, to know the dynamics of their home and how they spend their holidays, and even if English is a second language in their home. Their home life and their environment will directly affect their education, and how I come alongside them and their parents will matter. And I need to know more about cultural diversity so I can teach it to them, because I want to do a better job of understanding and using this information to better understand my students. And another disposition I would like to excel in is curiosity. I need to do a better job of getting my students to think through those higher level thinking questions. Because teaching special ed, I don't want to just stay on the surface. I want to push my students to go as far as they can go. It's important for my students to have real world experiences so that they can effectively face the challenges that's ahead of them. I want to do a better job of stimulating my students to take chances, because I want to teach them that it's okay to fail, but it's never okay to give up. And so to be an effective professional, I must set high expectations for my students, and I must set a tone for mutual cultural respect in my classroom. And it's also necessary that I exhibit professionalism. I need to be on time. I need to think about the way I dress and my attitude and my speech, how I present myself. I should also show fairness in my classroom and work hard at building those positive relationships with my students. And I must be reflective daily, always willing to adjust and grow for the sake of my students. It is critical that I encourage my students and force them to think all the while, making sure that they know that I have their best interest in mind. I should be honest, and I should model integrity, and my students should know that I care about them, their education, as well as their lives outside of the classroom. My students should know that I'm on their side and I want them to succeed. And I cannot be an effective teacher if I'm not dedicated and willing to be a lifelong learner myself. There's a quote from Arthur Ward, and it encourages me to be better. He says, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires." May I be a great teacher that inspires.